My number four is Olu Fashanu from Penn State. He has been talked about as a good tackle prospect for two draft cycles now. Um, there was a talk of him coming out last year. He's still quite a young player. He went back to school. I think there's lots to like with Fashanu. By saying he's number four, it doesn't mean that I do not like Fashanu at all, as we've talked about. He's someone who's really athletic. He was a basketball player for quite a long time before he transitioned to football. He's got the ideal height, weight, length combination. I think he's really fluid in his pass sets. He's got really good technique and bend. He's almost got that things that Fuaga doesn't have that we're talking about there. He's been a team captain. One of his coaches described him as high production, low maintenance, which is just the kind of guys that you want on your team. For me, there's quite a few things that I struggled a little bit with Fashanu. The fact that he went back to school for a year, I don't think anything changed or developed. You know, if you've got players who come back for another year, you want to see them, well, they've come back to develop something. I don't think he's any further on in his development than he was at this time a year ago. I think he leans excessively into his blocks, and particularly on wide alignments, he can be quite off balance. I think he's got a funky kind of slide movement, and I think he puts a lot of his weight on the outside foot as he's sliding out into pass sets that cause him to be a little bit imbalanced. He's got a bit of an inconsistent base for me, and sometimes oversteps his landmarks. And his strike timing can be a little bit off. It can be really got at into his chest. And I really think for a guy his size, I don't think he's that powerful. And I think that's something that if you're being overpowered, not overpowered, I think it's the wrong word, but I think he's got concerns about strength for me. And if you're playing out on that island on the tackle against the likes of Miles Garrett and that in the world, I do worry about him being out on a little bit of an island there. And that's for the reasons I have him at 4.
I have him at 2.
I thought you would.
Yeah, I still really like him. I completely understand your problems there with the weaknesses, especially against power, because it absolutely shows up. For me, it didn't show up an awful lot. There's one game against Ohio State where it shows up predominantly. Guys can have off days, right? So I was
Yeah, of
more
course.
looking for whether that was consistent. And I wasn't necessarily so worried in other games. To me, it was more timing than against power rather than the power itself. I felt like he needed a bit more patience and better timing against power. And because of his lack of strength profile, if you like, and he's only 312 pounds is what he weighed in at the combine, so he could put on a little bit more weight. But if he gets his timing bang on, he can dominate the leverage. But if he slightly misses out on the timing of his hand placement and his arm extensions, then that's when he can be got out in the middle. He does have small hands as well, the smallest hands at the combine. I'm really not that bothered about that, but it's something that's probably worth bringing up. It's just such an explosive player, explodes out of his stance, kick slides, covers so much ground. I think he just plays with so much speed, and not necessarily just with his feet, also with his brain and with his mentality. He just seems to be one step ahead. His anchor's more than enough balanced for me, creates natural strength leverage. Recovery is quick, it's snappy. Hands can get under the armpits to neutralize any potential leverage as well, which will stand him in good stead against the power, where it's not always, he doesn't always attack the chest, but he can get up and underneath, especially against lighter guys, to move them instead of having to rely on attacking the chest all the time. Extremely coordinated, flexible and bendy as well to turn the edge with the most difficult of rushers. Plays heads up, which I keep saying, but I really like it when I don't like it when players exposed. If I can see the crown, or if opponents can see the crown of your helmet, then that's not a good thing as a tackle. You need to play with your eyes up. I think he's active in his intelligence and his anticipation, understands his responsibilities and acts on them. Aware snap, great, easy puller, covers a lot of ground. I just worry that it's maybe gone slightly the other way with Fashanu when he hasn't done an awful lot wrong. And he's still very young. He's not the youngest of these guys, Joel's is the younger one, but they're both 21 and some of the youngest prospects in the whole class. So I still really like him.